Thank you so much, Premier. When it comes to the clean electricity regulations, the federal Liberal government is completely disregarding the top concerns of Canadians: affordability and energy reliability. This will mean Canadians will pay more with the risk of being left in the dark. This is expensive, unreasonable, ideological, and quite frankly, it is dangerous. The federal government continues to ignore the potential costs of these unaffordable regulations. Economists can't even seem to agree on a number because it's based on technology that doesn't yet exist. But all estimates thus far are staggering. The Public Policy Forum pegged the costs at over $1 trillion. The Conference Board of Canada previously estimated up to $1.7 trillion. Everything we've seen from the federal government shows they simply don't care how or how much Canadians will need to pay for their costly ambitions. In fact, ATCO's CEO said this week, Ottawa is masking the true cost of its energy transition. Now, who's going to pay for a $1.7 trillion transition? Well, it's Canadians and Albertans, whether it be on their power bills or through their taxes. Make no mistake, these regulations will hurt Alberta more than anyone else. Ottawa's own modelling shows we will face the largest costs, but we absolutely are not alone. Saskatchewan, Ontario, and the Maritime provinces will be deeply impacted, and all Canadians right across our country will feel the sting. Now, to cram in those enormous costs all before 2035 will mean massive power bill increases for families, seniors, and businesses, and it will be harder to get the investments we need to actually reduce emissions in the years ahead. Now to reliability. Minister Wilkins said just last week at the World Petroleum Congress that we should be like Germany. Germany, who is phasing out natural gas for more wind and solar. Now, with all due respect, as the Premier also shared, Canadians don't want to be in the position of Germany. Germany, California, Texas, what we see in those places is rolling blackouts and rationing power. Now, without reliable natural gas, Germany has become the world's worst performing major developed economy, with both the IMF and the European Union expecting it to shrink this year. Germany is also now going back and ramping up coal-fired generation to meet their demands. Even today, with demand only a fraction of what it will be in the coming decades, Alberta will not be able to operate without natural gas. Last year, our grid had 7 grid alerts during the colder months, and during the summer, we had 3 more. Now, that's with natural gas generating more than 72% of our electricity. Today, AESO released its analysis of the federal regulations. The regulator was also crystal clear. It found that these regulations will make electricity less reliable, leaving Alberta at risk of a large-scale blackouts, putting lives at risk and risking billions of dollars in economic output in jeopardy. Now, we will not embark on this ideological plan that could leave Albertans and Canadians rationing power during the coldest days of the year. Now, we talk about blackouts and brownouts, but let's talk about what that actually means. Think of a mom awake with her baby in the middle of the night and she can't turn on the lights. Think about rationing. Again, Germany, Texas, California, at times of high demand. That means for everyday Canadian families, those times of high demand being between 4 and 9 p.m. That's homework, school pickup, hockey, soccer, piano, dinner, all in the dark. That is a risk that we just won't take. But if these regulations are not changed, Canadians will almost certainly see this as their new daily reality. Now, over the last few months, Minister Guilbeault has claimed that these regulations are flexible. They allow fossil fuels past 2035 if they're needed. And that is not realistic. And I do believe Ottawa knows it. In practice, these regulations will make it commercially impossible for most natural gas plants to operate. Many will be commercially forced to simply retire their plants before 2035. Now, I just want to walk you through one last example. The draft regulations allow for unabated generation for up to 450 hours or 18 days a year. This is what the federal government says is flexibility. Flexibility for emergencies. So what about emergencies? What if we need natural gas to go over the 18 days? And let's be clear, if this rule were in place this year, Alberta's grid would have used up all 18 days before the end of January. January is cold. January is dark. 18 days. So on January 19th, when the wind isn't blowing, the sun isn't shining, and we need natural gas baseload peaker capacity, the federal minister is saying, don't worry, we can make exceptions, but it's Ottawa who will decide. So in a country like ours, during the coldest months of the year, when we can no longer provide natural gas thanks to the peaker cap, the expectation is that someone will have to call Minister Guilbeault in the middle of the night to get permission to provide power to Albertans. Now, just when you think that couldn't get more convoluted, Minister Guilbeault has already hinted that non-compliance with these federal electricity regulations, turning on the power for Albertans and Canadians, could be seen as a violation of the criminal code. Now, luckily, our Premier Smith, has said no one will go to jail for keeping the lights on here in Alberta. Unfortunately, Ottawa doesn't feel the same. The bottom line is that these rules just don't work. Changes are absolutely needed, and they're necessary to keep us from the dark. So why this campaign? For years, we've asked Ottawa to listen to Albertans and Canadians, to work with Alberta and other provinces right across our country. We've repeatedly recommended ways to reduce emissions without threatening affordability and reliability, to put common sense and the well-being of Canadians first. Unfortunately, we've been ignored, and so have other provinces, other organizations, and everyday people right across our country. This national advertising campaign is necessary because hearing from Canadians, yes, here in the prairies, but right across our country, is the only way the federal government can be convinced to actually consider affordability and reliability in the decisions that they're making. They need to hear from Eastern and Atlantic Canada about their very real concerns. We're committed, as Premier said, to reducing emissions. We're committed to stewarding our environment for future generations, but the federal politicians have not been honest about the costs and trade-offs of their policies. They give talking points, and they fail to give facts. We won't ask for permission to heat our homes and keep our lights on, not here. And we won't support regulations that send costs soaring and leave Canadians, as we said, in the dark. We need to have this honest conversation about the risks and the path forward. And this campaign is part of that, because there absolutely is a better way forward. Now, as Premier said, electricity emissions are already falling rapidly in Alberta alone. We have reduced electricity emissions by 53%. We can keep electricity affordable and reliable, but we need common sense. Canadians deserve better, and we're asking them to tell the feds that changes are needed. Thank you so much.